And we're live. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stefan Feissner, and I'm a project manager here at the GACC West. I'm very pleased to welcome you to the Smart City Innovations, Energy Efficiency and Safety Solutions virtual conference, brought to you by the representative German business, GACC West, with the generous support of our partners, the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, Mittelstand Global, Foreign Market Entry Program for Germany, Germany Trade and Invest, SPS, Germany, and the World Trade Center, Los Angeles. The GACC West is hosting a virtual Smart City delegation trip for German companies throughout this week. And on the occasion of the visit, we're organizing today's conference. Excuse me for that. Join me throughout the next hour and a half and gain rare industry insights from the public and private sectors when experts address one of the most pressing issues of our time, the future of our cities. Today we'll feature an intriguing keynote from Tanush Mohan, co-founder of Enlighted and president for IoT infrastructure at Comfian Enlighted. We'll have pitches from 4 selected innovative German companies and an expert panel discussing the latest smart city trends and presenting a future outlook. I want to emphasize that this is an extraordinary opportunity to connect with experts from the US and Germany and to learn about technologies and solutions that will improve the cohabitation of urban spaces. Before we start, I would also like to give a special thank you to my amazing government project team here at the GCC, including our manager, Preston Locher, and our associates, Cora Lingerski and Julia Keimbrecht, for bringing this program to life. Without further ado, I will now hand over to Mark Lenderman, Counselor for Economic and Commercial Affairs to the German Consulate General of San Francisco. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much, Stefan, and thank you so much for having me today. Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure and an honor to say a few welcoming remarks on behalf of Germany's Consulate General in San Francisco. As Stefan said, my name is Mark Lenderman. I'm the Consulate's Counselor for Economic and Commercial Affairs. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to participate in today's event on accelerating energy efficiency and safety solutions. Because when I started my career in government service, my first job in the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy was in the ministry's unit for energy efficiency. And my key takeaways from that job are, first, there's a lot that Germany and the US can learn from each other about saving energy. Second, cities can be key drivers to accelerate energy efficiency. And third, there are many business opportunities for companies from both sides of the Atlantic in the area of energy efficiency, not only for established corporates, but also for startups and for innovative small and medium enterprises. The same is true, by the way, not only for energy efficiency, but also for security technology. There are many small and medium enterprises that offer innovative civil security technologies and services. For this reason, the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy, from which I am seconded to San Francisco, supports companies from these sectors as they venture into new markets abroad. The Export Initiative for Civil Security Technologies, as well as the Export Initiative on Energy, are 2 programs that help SMEs to find business partners and market opportunities abroad. Against this background, I'm very glad and thankful that the team at GACC West, the representative of German business on the US West Coast, has taken the initiative to organize today's event on this very important topic. And I want to thank all the companies that take the time to participate in today's webinar. Without further ado, I want to hand over back to Stefan and the other organizers and wish you all a very successful webinar. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you for taking the time to be with us today. Coming up, we're excited to share our highly anticipated keynote with the title, A Smart and Sustainable Future with you. Tanush Mohan is president for the IoT infrastructure business at Comfian Enlighted, a co-founder of Enlighted and a 20-year technology veteran with experience in computer networking, security, and software, Mohan drives a technical vision and strategic direction at the company. He is responsible for many of the company's technology advancements, and prior to the acquisition by Siemens in 2018, he helped grow Enlighted into a world leader in building IoT. With more than 57 patents, Mohan is recognized as the world's leading expert in computer networking. Please welcome with me our keynote speaker, Tanush Mohan.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I will start. Okay. So, as the founder of Enlighted, a building IoT company, I would like to weave this presentation as a personal sustainability journey across three companies: Enlighted, of which I was the founder; Comfy, which is a partner company, and both of us are now part of Siemens. So what was this journey about? It was primarily about breaking silos. It was leveraging existing and creating new data streams. It was about the infrastructure, and it was about people. We were connecting people, places, and work together and operating at that intersection. The journey into Siemens taught us quite a lot, but I'll start with our roots at Enlighted. So what did we do at Enlighted? Back in 2014, we had our first large Fortune 500 company ask us for our sustainability report so that we could do business together. So we worked across the weekend and we created our first sustainability report. And it was about the product, about reducing waste, about our own energy, about saving water. And we were a little company. So all these efforts, yes, as a percentage looked good on our sustainability report, but it wasn't really impactful or meaningful in a global sense. But the actual business we were working on, the products we were creating, had a completely different effect in the market. We created a building IoT sensor network, typically delivered via the lighting system. And that blanketed the entire building with sensors, which were initially used for energy efficiency, but the data started to get extended into space planning, conference room. In fact, today we use that data for asset tracking. So as assets move around, we are able to locate the assets, and this has multiple use cases in healthcare and in other verticals. So by the time, and today we have probably 500 million square feet installed, but what we ended up doing was building the first end-to-end IoT architecture. And I'll just skip through this slide, but it's about applications and connecting it to spaces. When we look back and we see what we have done as Enlighted, we have avoided about 2 million tons of carbon. And this is not as Enlighted the company, but as Enlighted the product installed in 500 million square feet, saving energy every day. And that impact was significant. For every Enlighted employee, we offset the carbon for another 100 US citizens and 400 global citizens. And this was some learning that I had, when I came to Siemens, is to look at carbon, to look at, the bigger picture. And the fact that in the US, we generate 4 times the global average in terms of how much carbon we output. So this was, a serious problem that the Siemens, overarching participation in so many verticals and governments, etc., exposed me to. The other company that we had was Comfy. And Comfy approached the problem in a different way. For them, it was all about software, applications, and the occupant. So they started with Comfy. The name comes from hot cold, and they started by giving occupants an app where they could say whether they were feeling hot or cold in a space, and the HVAC could be adjusted. And they used that to drive some HVAC enhancement. But what really they had was another data source. An individual is today closely connected to his phone. So as the individual moves around with his phones, interacts with his phones to interact with the building, there's a lot of insight that the company was gaining about what the people are doing in the space. After all, the space was built for the people. So it boiled down to three parts. It was employee engagement. And today it is more real than ever because employees are starting to enjoy a hybrid work-life experience, and employers are trying to figure out what this means for their business. So having employee engagement, knowing what they are doing and how they're interacting and using the space is really important. The next thing is space management. Folks that are responsible for the space management need to do things differently because of the changing environment. And this data source enables them to plan spaces properly. And then the overall portfolio strategy. Do we actually need so much office space, or do we need to downsize? What do we need to do with office spaces? And the same data, the same employee engagement data, the enlightened data all feeds into the portfolio strategy. So as I was stepping back and we looked at this, we realized that to solve what today is the pressing problem, climate change, and look at sustainability, things have to come together, and each one feeds off the other and becomes more powerful. Today, the world has changed, and 97% of the employees prefer this flexible work model. I won't give the statistic, but most CEOs I have interacted with want their employees back at work. So there is a slight difference in how the CEOs are viewing this changed world and how the employees are enjoying this higher productivity and work-life balance. But most people do agree that there will be some downsizing of the office space, but it will be there. We still need collaboration. We still need unstructured time for creativity and innovation. And initially it worked really well, but as the pandemic continued, most of us realized that you need that cooler time. You need that non-Zoom time where I'm speaking just like I am right now, but there is no creative interaction. It's more or less a planned event with limited amount of wild thoughts in it. And then it's about retaining talent. As this world changes, we really need to make sure that our talent stays with us. So now stepping back to Siemens. Siemens is one of the broadest companies there is. We are in digital industries, figuring out factory automation. We are in smart infrastructure, which is buildings, warehouses, etc. And then Siemens Mobility. It's all about how we transport ourselves from one place to the other. So at Siemens, you get a much broader perspective of sustainability, climate change, political agenda. And then I'll touch on some of those things and tie it in to how to look at things from a broader perspective and not look at things in silos, though, some silo solving is needed. But at the end, the impact comes when we work together. So quickly, I will touch on a few things, and I'm not an expert in climate change or decarbonization, but these are some learnings from being a part of Siemens. The political agenda for carbon reduction has become central to many countries, and a lot of countries have done things about it. If you look around the world, there are carbon taxes or the equivalent of carbon pricing initiatives in many major countries. The country I'm sitting in currently has an absent major policy, but where I am in Silicon Valley in California, we We have some local initiatives to help with carbon reduction, and we lead the world in some of those. But this is something that all of us have to understand, that to tackle such a large problem, we have to attribute the right price to carbon in however we do business. And with that, if you do it as a carbon tax or as an incentive, it is the responsibility of the countries and the politicians, and each one of our responsibilities to vote the people into power who take this seriously. So it will boil down to each one of us. EU, however, in a good way, is leading the charge. And in California, we have fires all around us. We had a freeze in Texas. Most of us are waking up to climate change being a reality, with things, getting from bad to worse, the water situation, etc. So it is really important for all of us to internalize the effect of climate change and be part of these initiatives in whatever way we can, as an individual, as a corporation, as a voter, etc. The challenges are large, and I just will cover a quick, 100,000-foot level. We have to reduce carbon emissions by 50%. Some of the things we will do to get there is increase renewables, electrify mobility, capture carbon, and then find net zero alternatives to carbon. I'll get into the energy part of it, and to get a global perspective of what's happening on energy and how we can get to reducing carbon. Today, technology has led the way. I was debating with a friend about where we are as a population, and I was looking back at what was it called, the Malthusian Catastrophe, where they said that the population grows exponentially and food grows linearly. So at some point, our population will strip our food production capabilities, and they're all linked with climate change and others. But it never happened. I mean, every 100 years, all the way back to 1796, every 100 years, something happens and our population grows and we are able to keep up. What happens is technology. Every time we come to that point where the population and the food supplies, etc., are going out of whack, technology comes in, and we are able to get better in terms of whatever problem we are solving. In this case, it was food. We were able to intensify our crop generation, etc. So in climate change, technology is a key aspect in how we look at this problem, how we move on. Sorry. So today, we are transitioning from the old grid system, and it's a gradual shift from the prevailing model of large-scale, centralized, carbon-intensive power generation to small-scale, decentralized, low-carbon power generation. So it's this shift is becoming apparent because there is no more investment in coal plants, and there is a surge of investments in renewables. So this surge in investment in renewables has a nice effect of feeding itself. So the costs of renewables come down, the installation comes down. So it has now become possible to have large-scale renewables. When we look at the technology for the grid and step back and take a higher level look, we look at, and I'll run through this quickly, we look at hydrogen, we look at demand flexibility, virtual power plants, electrification, digitalization, storage. Hydrogen is key because it is a way of connecting the dots. Hydrogen is a way of using excess energy to store. It's in some sense like a battery, but hydrogen can also be directly used for transportation. It can be used in industry, and effort is going into hydrogen and making sure that it is viable. Demand flexibility, just like we did energy efficiency, we have load control in our buildings with Enlighted and Siemens. And with demand flexibility, it gives us a lot more flexibility to make the grid interactive. Virtual power plants with load control, etc. You can have pricing and other strategies to create a power plant out of savings. It's not a real power plant, it's a virtual power plant. And people give up their energy consumption and are able to monetize it. Electrification is key. I didn't internalize it till I bought my first electric car. And initially I was wondering about the carbon impact of an electric car because I was charging it with unclean power. But then I realized that the only way to transmit energy cleanly is electrification. So when the source generation problem is fixed, we will have a clean supply. If I had a fuel or an ice-based car, that could never become clean because you had to transport it in trucks and you had to burn fuel. So electrification at a global level is essential for us to get to carbon reduction. Digitalization is what Comfy, Enlighted, and Siemens are about. Unless you can digitalize all of these assets and use software, machine learning, and AI to have a cycle of optimization that feeds into itself, that's key for us. And then lastly, storage. With renewables, we don't support the base load if it's not windy or if it's at night. So with a lot of renewables, storage is the way to offset the variability in the base load. And a lot of investment and ideas and innovation are happening in storage. Lastly, connecting it back, Comfy was in the office vertical, and so were we in most of our installations. So offices are at the forefront of creating sustainable buildings. And there are three major things in the office vertical that's happening. One is millennials. They are, they've entered the workforce and they're very demanding. They are a driver of change. So to keep them happy, we are embracing their values and using their work-life balance, planet awareness to attract them to our offices. The second thing that happened, IoT, which is what Enlighted did, has become ubiquitous. To bring technology into buildings with compute, with sensing capabilities, and with 5G, etc., with connectivity, it has become very easy to get to a IoT base. And the last thing that happened right now is COVID-19. It has forced everyone to rethink. It has accelerated digitalization, and we must leverage this horrible pandemic to become better. And lastly, just want to end with the world is changing. The energy ecosystem is undergoing a major transformation. Climate change, depleted resources are things that we are dealing with. So every individual, each one of us on this call is an energy producer, consumer in our own way. So we all have to get together to make sure that decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization are all things we can participate in. And this must happen for us to come together for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Tanush. You presented some wonderful insights and you definitely gave us some food for thought.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you for taking the time to being with us here today. Coming up next, I would like to introduce to you 4 of our participating companies. They will now go ahead and deliver short company presentations to our audience. The first presentation will feature the electrical safety company WIT Solutions that's represented today by their CEO and founder, Klaus Gradisek. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. And good evening to Germany and good morning to America. And one push button I have to push, then we could start. So no one else. Who is that? Yeah, Bildschirm freigeben. Tester. Ja, voila. Bit Solutions is from Germany, and we are not in the front of the infrastructure. We are very in the backside. So we have no app what you could touch them, the customer not, but we are very important because we do a lot of safety things with in the electronic area. And well, that's an overview about our product line, production, what we do. The technical guys will understand that very quick. So what's happened, recording 50, 122s, etc. Later on, I'll show you production about that. Or we so voltage DC in a harsh electronic distributed, because when you have measurements tools in the railway very close to the motors, etc., it have to be worked. And also the current monitoring, when you have infrastructure like cables, etc., you have to monitor it. This is what our focus in the what we supply, developed with a whole team of embedded hardware, embedded software, energy guys. Also, we have also an own manufacturing and to build our own product and engineer it. Our USP is we make very engineered systems, not out of the box. Your customer come to us and said, hey guys, we want to have this or have that one, because we have very simple doing, because that's our standards. Why? We need this in every town in Germany and also in the US, in America, in Canada, anywhere you need special things and special downs, and that is what we offer with our product. And what we also have is a measurement platform for why we could do that. We have a special platform for measurements, special in these railway industries and underground, or the railways by DC. So that is our things. And much of the undergrounds work by DC. And this one is a platform. They allowed it to measurements up to 3,000 or next year 6,000 kilovolts and galvanic isolation. So we could direct measurements this voltage, high voltage, without any problems with our measurements tools. Also low energy, especially when we work in a battery area. That's sure this do not need more energy to measurements as the battery will give us. And our tools is always autonomous. So each thing is an enclosed system who make all the jobs, all the sensors, all the requests. You get it in a own product, in our own module, a component. And when you take this together, you have a measurements platform. Like what you see on the left-hand side. We could do it in different kind of cases. We have some OEMs who use then some special colors. Well, we do it like what the customers want to have. What I will show you now, the engineering side, I will show you just the production side from us. And we call it professional power monitoring. What we are reselling. This is some customers where we selected here in Europe. We have also in Germany a lot of Germany. We have also St. Petersburg, or we deliver to Switzerland, or we deliver to some other countries here. The key thing is when you had a DC-driven railway, you have like an AC, you have special requests on that. This one, what we are focused in the DC. So you had an integrated system for DC that you had no problems about stray current and also electronic shocks for people, etc., etc. And there's a different as the AC, especially when you're thinking in the past runs the underground to 200 volts. Now comes some because about the power, what you need, more people work with that. So you need more 1,500 volts or 6,000 volt. So it's come always dangerous for the guys who you take with them. And what we are doing is this voltage limit device, this box down in the green ones. We checked all the right-hand side is the potentials of the underground, and the left-hand side is the underground for the rail. And we check both. And when there's some issue, we do something. Does nobody have a problem when you take from one potential, when you move from one potential to the others? There's a different kind of solution we provided for the customer, but simple one with thyristors or power conductor, or both in synchronization. This is in the norms in 50.126 is they described what means that, what's happened with him. How look like this? Does you get a short impression? It's not just a small box. It's sometimes the box in the middle, the class 100 EKS 100 class 3. It's 250 kilo watt heavy. So we have really strong boxes what we produce in manufacturing and engineered in our factory. We had the biggest range and voltage limit devices in the world. So nobody could, this is that why we work with a lot of companies here in Europe, because we have one of these widest range in the product. What means widest range? So we could up from 2.8 kiloamperes up to 880 kiloamperes. We could move from small voltage up to 3,000 voltage. We could also do 6,000 voltage next year. We have thousands of options what the customer will have, and we have also very communicated. So Industry 4.0 is one of the levels what we are to develop our new developing.
Klaus, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Oh, okay, really? Okay. So
up next,
I think
I'm sorry, Klaus.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to move on to the next participant at this point.
Yes.
But thank you so much for this great insights. And if any of the attendees would like to gain more information, please contact us or Klaus after the event.
Yep. Thank you.
Coming up next, I would like to welcome the CEO of Hydromapper, Christian Hesse, who's working with his team to maximize the benefit of digital port infrastructure solutions. Hi, Christian.
Thank you, Stefan. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be able to present here. Let me start the presentation. So, yeah, the company name is Hydromapper, and what do we do? It's pretty simple. We make infrastructure visible for port operators, for planning companies, for any type of person who's involved in port infrastructure. So the company was founded 4 years ago. It's a privately held German high-tech startup. We're being based in Hamburg, which is Europe's second largest seaport. And Hydromapper is a spin-off from an R&D program of the German government, who is funding innovative startups for digitalization of infrastructure of any sort. So since we're a joint venture between a civil engineering company and a surveying company, our parent companies have over 200 engineers and closely of about 170 years of company history. So how does it look like? When we do high resolution 3D as-built underwater scanning, it looks like you can see it on the right side of the slide. It's a high density, high resolution underwater 3D point cloud. You can imagine it's a massive pile of data that we have, and by acquiring this, we provide exact knowledge about the full picture of the port infrastructure. Since we have such a great amount of data, we developed a couple of AI technologies in order to scan through the whole, it's called point cloud, through the point cloud in order to discover the regions where damages are suspected, and therefore we are able to guide, for example, diving crews exactly to the spot of interest where damages might have been occurring. By doing this, we were able to secure operational processes and prevent downtimes of operations. I'd like to give you an example where we use our technology in order to ensure a planning and retrofit project. So the question was, how is the underwater portion of that terminal here that was about to be renewed? And we scanned it, we provided it to the planning company, and the planning company was able to do a very precise as-built model. You can see it here, it's a BIM model of the existing terminal, and you can see it here as well as a base for the newly planned terminal that was built in front of the old one. So by doing this, we ensure everything goes smoothly, and we're more or less the life insurance for any sort of planning project. I'd like to give you a second example, which is not about a terminal, but a deep construction pit for a new lock being built in Germany. You can see the center basin, which has a depth of about 80 feet. And there are a lot of piles on the ground. And the question was, are the piles on the right spot? Are they tilted in any way? Are they damaged? Is the head in a good shape? So we used our scanning gear to directly go down, and we've been scanning at 35 feet depth, which is usually pretty hard for doing this by divers. But with our technology, it could have been done in a very small time frame while operation was in progress. That is pretty important. We do not slow down any sort of construction process, so we can work in parallel. Our third product is for building inspection. We like to provide information to operators of infrastructure for being able to extend the lifespan of their infrastructure. For that purpose, we developed an HD mapping system for documentation from the water side, and we use it as a perfect base for building inspection. You can see it here. It's a very high resolution image. We recently did it for a 10-mile project in Western Germany, which has been completed within a little more than a day. How do we provide the access to the data to our clients? We have a web portal. In the end, it's all about data. It's about managing data. We have been developing the hardware, yes, but we're a service provider, and the final goal is to enter the data business by having multiple sources of data, like 360-degree panel images, like you know from Google Street View, like aerial images, like vertical images I showed you on the previous slide, and 3D point clouds as well. So that's what we do. Thanks.
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, Christian, and thank you for being with us here as well with us today. Our next presentation is brought to you by Sebastian Brehme, Head of Software Development at ISIG, a company that is pioneering in the field of sewer inspections.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Sebastian Brehme, and I'm Head of Development and Projects at the ISIG company. And yeah, so freshwater supply has become one of the most important services for our community. But what about the wastewater? Just think about, for instance, water reclamation. It can be reused for irrigations of gardens, agriculture fields, businesses and industry, and can be even treated to reach a drinking water standard. Therefore, every city has an invisible infrastructure, the sewer network. But just because it's invisible, you don't care, you must care. The sewer network is a critical infrastructure with a high replacement value, and a lack of maintenance lowers the value of the sewer system. Apart from that, a damaged sewer network is danger to people as well as the environment. Politicians know this fact. Regular inspections are mandatory and required by law. But what people don't know is that many of these different companies must work together to maintain this network. It's a decentralized job and a very time-consuming and monotone. So what can we do about it? In order to let these different companies work together quickly and uncomplicated, a holistic end-to-end solution is needed to store and exchange all related inspection information and media files in a smart way. Apart from that, the inspection process itself can be accelerated by using assistance systems, for instance, based on machine learning algorithms. The ESIG AI solution increases the speed of damage detection and condition classification dramatically. What does this mean? The cloud-based AI services are analyzing existing inspection content like videos, or speed up the inspection itself or the quality assurance processes. On the other hand, not all clients have access to fast internet connection. Therefore, we must have the option to run the services on premise as well. Last but not least, we're also offering real-time AI processing on the inspection vehicle. This helps the operator to quickly find and identify states in the sewer by doing the inspection. All of this results in a more efficient inspection. The ESIG Cloud platform provides a modular service, including modules for sewer inspection. So the user can use modern and up-to-date technology to manage their inspection data, including state-of-the-art functionality like upload, download, edit in the cloud, share the data, and share it with the team or with your partners. This leads us to the fact that it's not only about sharing the data, it's also about communication in the team, to the customers, or to the partners too. This can be done using a single point of access, the ESIG platform, where you can collaborate. The secured cloud-based data storage and backup is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So the data is kept safe and is secure in the US environment. For instance, our security architecture is based on blueprints of credit card institutes. No loss of data, no need to buy and maintain new computer hardware. All of our data are changed in norm-compliant data formats. So there is no vendor login. Customers can still utilize existing software and use ESIG as an extension. Our interest in the US is serving customers in the sewer inspection market, like sewer inspection companies, inspection vehicle operators, wastewater management companies or organizations, and all other organizations related to the inspection market. We want to extend established relationships with our cooperation partners to the US market and create new partnerships. The modularity of our platform allows partner companies to share and resell their services hosted on our platform. We are providing US technology-based solutions for cloud and AI, like Microsoft Azure. Since nearly 5 years, we are part of the Microsoft Partner Network. Our vision for the future is to establish a presence in the US for serving US clients. So we are looking forward for further discussions with you and an in-depth presentation if you want. But anyway, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, Sebastian. And we wish you best of luck for the rest of this week here with us.
Thank you.
The final presentation will be delivered by Thilo Hefner, CEO and founder of Efficiency Systems. He's focusing on real-time data visualization and monitoring services. Thilo, welcome.
Yes, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for having the chance joining this conference. I'm not sure, I had some technical troubles. Can you understand me now?
Yes, we can, Thilo.
Okay, that's cool. So, my name is Thilo Hefner. I am the founder of Efficiency Systems. We are a startup since 5 years on the market, and I will share my screen now. Give me a second. Yeah, we are. So, we are seit 5 years on the market, and we developed a standard IoT platform for data monitoring, data visualization, and notifications and warnings. We don't care about data sources, and also we don't care about what have the dashboards to look like, because this is something only the customer knows. So what did we do? We developed this standard service, and let me give you here the approach. When I had a look at the market, I saw that if a company, a producer is producing a machine, an asset, more and more companies come with an own app. So the stakeholder on top can see in a digital app what his machine, his device, his sensors are doing. But as soon as you have more than one device in an organization, you have the problem that you will get an app zoo here. And this app zoo does not give you an answer about your of questions our customers have. They are asking for, what is my utilization in my company? What is the warning on my bottleneck? What is the filling level of parking places? And these questions are very different. And the approach we see in the market is more hardware driven. So what did we do? We said, okay, if this is true, let's regard this from a business point of view. Let's start on the question, what does customers require to see? And give them a tool where they can set up their own views, and then we are looking which data sources do we need. Do we have already data source, or do we need, or do we need sensors? And we developed this platform on a standard RAMI reference model 4.0. This is an industrial standard for IoT platforms, and we do not depend to any specific hardware or to any specific use case or to any specific branch. We basically provide a platform for data visualization and monitoring, and you can set up now your own business cases. And we have examples, for instance, in a city, they have an issue with what is the humidity of the earth. So do we have to go out with water or not to the trees and the plants? And they have another issue. They want to monitor the growing of an old tree. But they did not notice on a very first beginning. They came with this idea over the time. And then we said, okay, let's only add another sensor, and they have been live. We did not develop one single line for them. So we can connect any data source. The only thing we have to make sure that they can talk with us. And the digital view here, the digital part, the setup of the dashboard is still up to the clients. And I give you here an example what we did in a producing company. We have a company, we have customers, they are working as a wood mill, and they have an issue. They have a fire risk, because in a wood mill you have always this wood, you have this engine and these plants. And what did we do? We added in the wood mill, and I go down to the picture here, we added in the wood mill, this is the picture here, temperature sensors on the potential fire spots. They know very well where they have the potential fire spots, and we added only temperature sensor. These sensors, they use the mobile phone network. We do not have to put any receivers in the company. We just use the mobile phone network, and we added here the sensors, and the owner of the company has here a dashboard where he can see what is the actual situation on his spots. These are the machines you can see on the right picture. And he has another issue where he wants to know that if a machine is down, he has a risk of money loss. So this is not a fire engine, it's a loss of money, because the quality of the parts he is producing is not good anymore. So we added another sensor to this machine. Here on the right picture, you see the control cabinets. This is one of the very common issues in these companies. They are getting much too warm and nobody knows. So to make a long story short, we added only these data sources, and then the owner here has a dashboard in his office where he, from one point, can see what is his actual risk. And the good news here is the only thing you need to monitor, to set up your dashboard is Google Chrome. We don't force you to download an app or something like this. We just use Google Chrome, and in Google Chrome, I can show this here live to you in a second.
Thilo, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. But
okay, thank you so much
for your presentation and all of the other presenters for introducing our audience to your innovative products and solutions. Up
thank you so much.
Agenda, we would like to welcome you to participate in our panel discussion. And before we start, I would like to encourage the attendees to ask questions that you'd like to address to our speakers after the discussion. I would like to introduce you to someone the German community in California is very familiar with. Angelica is a global expert with extensive experience in corporate localization strategy, site selection, economic development, business and government relations, and international trade and development. As the director of the San Francisco office for Germany Trade and Invest, she advises companies in the cleantech and information technology industries. Please welcome with me our panel moderator, Angelica Geiger.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us online. Thanks, Stefan, for the kind introduction. As he mentioned, I'm Angelica Geiger, and it's my great pleasure to moderate this panel discussion today on the topic of accelerating smart city development through transatlantic cooperation. The world is facing severe challenges today in terms of climate change and related increased migration. These problems will only be exacerbated by the expected population growth to almost 10 billion people by 2050. The only way to deal with this situation is through increased urbanization. So I quote from the UN's Population Fund, urbanization can be a powerful driver of sustainable development. Higher population density enables governments to more easily deliver essential infrastructure and services in urban areas at relatively low cost per capita. So that brings us right to our discussion today. Greater urbanization requires the development of smart city technologies. Our keynote speaker this morning, Mohan Tanush, spoke about, he gave a specific example of how technology was able to solve the problem of population growth outpacing our ability to, or agriculture's ability to keep up and provide food for that growth. Technology can help us to address these problems of the future. So during this panel discussion today, we'll talk about creating a transatlantic ecosystem to accelerate some of the most promising of these technologies. My work at Germany Trade and Invest, by the way, involves bringing companies and technology from North America to Germany. Two of our panelists today come from transnational companies, so it's clear that foreign direct investment is one way to accelerate change. But let's start, though, with our first panelist, Kate Kigongo, who's with the City of West Hollywood as a Senior Innovation Analyst. Kate, please tell us a few words about yourself and what smart city innovations you're working on in West Hollywood. Also, let us know if and how you're working with other regions or how you can imagine doing so in the future. Kate, the mic is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Kigongo, and I am the Senior Innovation Analyst for the City of West Hollywood. My role in the innovation team is to lead the city's Smart City Initiative. The Smart City Initiative is a 4-year-old strategy created to use technology to improve the quality of life for our constituents. The city of West Hollywood is small, just 1.9 square miles, but with 36,000 residents, we're one of the densest cities in Southern California and in all of California as a whole, almost as dense as San Francisco. We have high urbanization, and we like to think of ourselves as city as laboratory. We've worked with international companies before to test new technologies in our infrastructure and inside City Hall in software and tools to help us process the data that Smart City brings. I work both in infrastructure and in policy and capacity building inside City Hall to make sure that smart technology is paired with smart policy. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Kate. And I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about what you're doing, hopefully during the Q&A portion of our discussion. So next, it's my pleasure to introduce Paul Hoekstra, who's the Mobility Director at TNL Mobility USA. TNL is the market leader in Europe. So Paul, please tell us what your company is doing in the US and how you can help move all these billions of people around efficiently in the future.
Right.
Paul, the floor is yours.
Isn't that the question? Yeah, thank you for that question. So we come out of Europe, mainly the Netherlands, and expanding rapidly in the Nordic, and also looking at, of course, Germany as one of our markets. 28 of the 30 large cities in the Netherlands are our customers, and what we've done over the last 30 years is really understanding what it takes to move people around, right? And it can be a pedestrian, it can be somebody in a bus, it can be, you know, a person in a car, right? And our whole philosophy is we're not doing this from a let's bring technology, but we're doing this in how do you deliver those services to the people in the streets, right, and the businesses in the municipalities. And what we're seeing in the United States is that a lot of the traffic is still unmanaged. Yeah, and we've just concluded a proof of concept here in San Francisco, where we said, let's take a corridor and let's manage that corridor from that perspective. And we've installed sensors to really understand and see in real time where are the peoples, where are the vehicles, classify them into, you know, public transit. Maybe it's a light rail vehicle, maybe it's a bus, a truck, right, a car, and then based on that prioritization, yeah, we're actually going back into the intersections and we're dynamically setting the traffic lights. Yeah, what we're seeing in the United States at this point in time, that there's a lot of technology being deployed and it creates really nice pictures. And you go, oh, look, there's congestion, right? I don't have, you know, you don't need technology, right? If you talk to people like Kate, she will tell you over here's congestion, right? That's, what are you going to do about it? And there's, of course, the scenarios and there's the rules underneath it. But in the end, traffic moves by turning a light red or green. And by closing that loop, and we're optimizing the signal plans 20,000 times per second per intersection, right? What we've been able to show in San Francisco is that the red light delay, right? So we have the little trams, the little LRVs in San Francisco. When they approach an intersection, the red light delay, when they slow down and or come to a stop, right? We reduced with 73%. Right, so that is what traffic engineers say, a dramatic improvement. Yeah, and they will also tell you, well, that's not that hard. You optimize one mode and you take away from the others. But because we're optimizing this in real time over a whole corridor, right, we had zero impact, negative impact on the pedestrians and the cars. Right. So now what we're seeking to do within the United States, because we now know how to communicate with the infrastructure. It is all, and there's one protocol in the United States. Now we're looking for new opportunities where we can partner with cities that say we have a problem and we want to do something about it, and we want to conceptually do something very, very different, yeah, than what we have done with our smart city initiative so far. And so that's really what we're trying to do, and it is really exciting to see, you know, these kinds of very cool cooperations between us and the municipalities. I'll leave it with that for now, Angelica.
Okay, thank you so much. As somebody who drives around the city of San Francisco frequently, it's like a demolition derby. So I'm very happy to hear about some of the solutions. And of course, in the future, we hope that everybody will be out of their cars and on some kind of public transportation. So thanks. Thank you, Paul. So our next and final panelist is Bjorn Fox, who's with Itron, a well-known company out of Washington State. Bjorn is their business growth manager of IoT and smart city solutions in Germany. Bjorn, please tell us a little bit about your company and what specifically you're doing in Germany.
Thanks, Angelica, for the invite here. And actually, I have a dual hat here because I'm also a representative from the Federal Association of Smart City here in Germany. And that's an association that consists of more than 100 members and gives cities, municipalities, universities, and industries a common platform to discuss and develop new and interdisciplinary smart city concepts. And this is quite interesting here. And the words, the keywords, the buzzwords we're all dealing with are sustainability, regenerative energy, carbon footprint, new transport concepts, social and ethical impacts, privacy and security. Yeah, and the association is not only looking at Germany, but we also like to network with our international colleagues. It's all about being connected and to discuss innovative trends with all of them, and then to try to take the best practices and apply them here. As you said, I just mentioned in my main job, I'm working as a growth manager for Itron, and I'm introducing smart city solutions to the and so mainly dealing with a platform coming from the smart streetlight, and now we are discussing with many cities, municipalities, let's say the benefits of having smart streetlights and using them also as a bearer for sensors of all kinds, and in combination with electric vehicle charging infrastructure, grids, smart grids, etc. So we are actually combining all these different things and bring it together to this complex world, you know. And it's also about energy resources like our natural resources like gas, water, electricity we're dealing with. So we're talking a lot with, as I said, the utilities of municipalities and the cities, and try to really understand their needs and to discuss also the big picture with them. And so that gives me a lot of insights. And I'm attending various conferences and so on to talk to many people and to see what actually the market requires here.
Thank you, Bjorn. I love your background, by the way. And can we assume that your company is primarily software driven?
Yes, solutions. It's all about solutions now, you know, platforms of all kinds. For all and everything. Super.
So, so thank you. All of our panelists have kept their opening remarks very short, which gives us lots of time for questions. So so for all the participants, we do have a Q&A section here. So feel free to put in any questions that you have. But the title of this program really, I mean, we've heard a lot. We've heard from German companies today, and I think the whole purpose of this forum is to kind of foster the transatlantic discussion. And so I guess, you know, aside from having an event like this where companies from Germany can present some of their solutions, and we've heard from a lot of variety, including, you know, sewer systems, infrastructure systems, what else can we do to kind of benefit from the knowledge and experiences that we've had on both sides of the Atlantic? I don't know, Kate, do you, maybe we'll start with you. Are you working with companies from overseas, or are you in discussion, let's say, with cities or organizations internationally?
Sure, great question. The City of West Hollywood has worked with overseas companies on a variety of different projects. For instance, I ran a smart streetlight pole pilot with a company called Enahub out of Australia. That was a year-long pilot program that looked at using a new infrastructure pole to house 5G small cell technology, sensors, cameras, LED lighting, speakers, environmental weather sensors, etc. We're happy and always willing to work with any company. Our city doesn't have procurement guidelines that prevent us from working with international companies. I think the hardest challenge for us is just meeting and finding these companies in the first place. All of our procurements go out to public bid. And so we're really limited to choosing and selecting teams that submit to our public bids. And so our public bid portal is a place where we really source and find information. We can source and find information from other cities that way. And we do talk with other cities, particularly in the Los Angeles and California region, but all over the United States and internationally if we're considering an international product.
Super, thank you, Kate. So I guess this question, so Bjorn and Paul, you're both with private companies. So I guess the question, I guess I would have to rephrase that a little bit and say, are you doing anything kind of, are your companies doing any types of seminars or anything like that that would kind of foster the whole smart city discussion? Do you do any kind of public outreach?
I can speak now for Germany. And Germany, coming from the other side, coming from the US and try to implement service here in Germany, it's, we're currently running a communication, let's say, a campaign, you know, and at the moment we were well known for meters of all kinds, like gas, water meters and electricity meters, and the solution part is kind of new, yeah? And so now I'm dealing with, let's say, communication agencies to promote and to communicate into the market what we're actually doing, and therefore, of course, like this today, I'm trying to communicate to potential partners and customers, and we are open for seminars, giving seminars and let's say introductions to our program and now to our solutions, of course.
Yeah, from our perspective, what Kate described is actually really hard for this side, right? Because we have to monitor so many different places where these projects are putting out for bid, right? And what we're actually are building, and we'll start launching this early next year, maybe end of this year, is kind of like an expert panel where we bring in people from Europe, and we're just starting with a small group of, you know, innovation people like Kate or traffic engineers and those kinds of people to start building that community, right? And that way we will bring also European initiatives, right? And what kind of research is going on there, right, to the United States, right? Because otherwise you end up like, you know, like later on in October, there's the Smart City Connect, right? Where a lot of people are going, but it's kind of like, you know, a big setting, and, you know, truly deeply understanding, like you were saying, Bjorn, what the customers need, right? And how do you translate that into something that drives that value, right? That is a key ingredient that you only get in the personal touch.
Yeah, and talking for the association on my side, so the association is, as I said, the German Association for Smart City. It's a much wider forum, you know, and of course we have lots of discussions here and seminars where we bring people together, where we bring the various stakeholders and parties together and discuss, let's say, innovative concepts. So it's apart from the Iot side, you know, because on a higher level, of course, these things are driven, and this is not just a national thing; it's also an international thing, because learning from the best means looking also abroad. And Iot is also quite successful with the city of Copenhagen, for example, the city of Paris, we've been where we have introduced smart lighting concepts. And these are things, we're learning from the others and discussing things. And this is, in my eyes, the biggest, let's say, a challenge here, because we found out that many cities, they're still in a kind of a finding phase, and so they're still in a kind of exploratory and orientation phase, and they haven't really settled up for let's say such complex discussions, because when you go one level below from the CTO to the departments, many of them are not really, they're living still in their silos, and they're not really let's say understanding the big picture, and so there's a lot of let's say learning necessary to bring us to a level where all let's say stakeholders are capable to have a good discussion on that.
Right. That's exactly right. And the thing that what we have done in the United States is try to package that up, right? So we've created a concept that is called, an intersection in a box, right? And what's in that box then, right? It's not all about technology. Of course, it's an enabler, right? But you need your processes and your roles and responsibilities. Yeah. So if we would optimize San Francisco at scale, yeah, you're talking about 1,200 signalized intersections. Yeah, if it takes you, I don't know, even if you do 4 a day, yeah, to start optimizing that, you're in it for the long haul, right? So how do you do those kinds of things, and how do you make it easy for the cities also to consume this, right? It should become more and more agnostic. Yeah, that we need to hang a couple of sensors, right? That shouldn't be the challenge, right? It's not that, like in one of the presentations we saw, right? It is really not that hard to put a thermometer somewhere, right? But to provide a solution that you can make sure that the wood mill sets on fire, right? That's really what customers are buying. Yeah? And I think there's still too much tolerance for us, yeah, as at a core, we're of course technologists, but to play around with technology. I think the cities need to start challenging us for solutions, and we have to provide those solutions that are flexible enough that when we get it wrong, right, and we keep learning, you start integrating it. But the question has to come from the market that says, it's unacceptable, yeah, that it takes so long to go from A to B in our municipalities. Right? Because
I've been able to deal with that in the city of West Hollywood by convening a twice monthly group of the key stakeholders involved in all smart city infrastructure work. So our smart city infrastructure working group meets twice a month, very briefly, just to catch each other up on projects. But when we do have a project that we're considering that is multi-stakeholder, it's cross-disciplinary, we bring those conversations to that meeting, and it's been a small but effective way to keep innovation going in the city.
So sorry to interrupt, but it actually brings me to a question that I had for Kate, and that is, what initially got that whole smart city discussion started in West Hollywood? I mean, how did it start? Was it your initiative, or how did that start?
Yeah, so that was a discussion between my team, the innovation team, which had previously been looking at technology innovations inside City Hall, really in the way that we do workflow improvements, performance management, data analytics. And we started to notice that companies were coming to us with their new technologies, and that every conference we went to, every event, every discussion amongst cities was all about technology. At the time, there were very few small cities like West Hollywood involved in the smart city discussion. It was really at the federal level, transportation smart city technology. There was some climate smart city talk, but it really wasn't focused on looking at using technology holistically in a city. So my team went out to find a partner to help us determine our priorities for what technology improvements the city needed. We know that our infrastructure is aging. We know that our utility company, Southern California Edison, is in control of most of our electric grid. We know that our streetlights, at the time we had just purchased our streetlights from Southern California Edison, we knew that we had this opportunity to really think holistically about the way that technology flows through the city and how it can improve the experience, not only for our residents, but also what can we offer to our businesses? How can we rethink the bus stop and improve our transit experience? And how can we ultimately provide a better place for our tourism industry, which is the single largest revenue generator for our city income? So really providing the technology improvements that visitors, especially international visitors, are used to seeing all over the world, but are not so common in the United States. That was a driving force. It took about a year to develop the plan, and that plan was really developed in concert with our constituents, really asking them about how technology can improve their quality of life, and then with our department heads and how they see technology improving their ability to manage their workload, to manage expectations of the city council. And over the last 3 years, I've been implementing that plan piece by piece. It covers everything from public safety camera technology to IoT design to streetlight pilot programs, which I've run one. We're about to start another with a US firm called Ubiquia. We are really thinking about technology, but then also there's a second component of this, which is now that we have the data, or in the future when we have the data, what do we do with it? This discussion of platform is very interesting because just because you have a platform and just because you have the insights doesn't mean that you have a staff or a city council or department heads who are willing to use that data and willing to turn it into actionable change. It's one thing to control the streetlights. It's another to see data about trash collection or housing issues or climate change and do something about that. So a big piece of what I focus on is upskilling our staff, talking about data analytics, talking to them about the importance of asking for high quality platforms, high quality data training when they go out to procure a new technology. It's also one of my goals at some point to federate our data into one platform or a few platforms across the different verticals in the city. It's, operational performance management data is one piece of it, but it'd be great to look at where our smart city technology is. Is that a digital twin? Is that some sort of connected sensor platform? And how do we use those platforms and that data to plan for what we see as really a sort of coming energy revolution in California, the state mandates for electric vehicles, the impact that will have on our electric grid. We are getting ready for that now. That the mandate to have zero gas-powered vehicles sold in 2035 might seem far away, but in civic planning, that's just around the corner. So smart city, that the smart city goals and the smart city initiative are really working towards not just the 5-year strategy of trying and testing new technology, but really a long-term investment in resiliency and preparedness for the actions that are needed to meet both mandates and to meet our own, challenges here in California.
Yeah. Sounds like you have the best job, Kate, because you don't often hear that people that I talk to, right? It sounds like you're really hitting that building the platform, right? But when I was working with SFMTA as a consultant, right, we talked about, platform, but the platform is not a solution, right? And you're at the verge of making that transition of understanding what's going on, right? But now, I don't know, I'm up here in Silicon Valley, and we have these in the summer, these rolling blackouts. Yeah, and because people are coming home and turning their AC on, right? So now everybody is going to plug in their hybrid or their electrical car, right? It's just not going to happen unless we do something about it, right? And how do you, what we're seeing in Europe, right? It's one of those interesting things where, you know, don't charge your car 100%, right? Because you're going to leave it there. If you tell the car you're going to be there so long, and a charge station, just charge it at 80%. It takes the peak away, right? But how do you do that at scale? Yeah, in a city like Los Angeles, right? Yeah, so those are the challenges that we have to face, right? So that's, I would encourage you to look for where is that link made, right? I joined TNL only because, you know, I want to make the impact on, you know, this country that I choose to live in, right? And that's what, if the city start looking for those kinds of things, right, then you can make the actions on it.
The good thing about this is that we're all facing the same challenges, obviously, because we and we have we're going to get a new government which will be more green than ever, and so we're really moving towards this new scenarios. So we have to think about new concepts, you know. And as you just mentioned, it's actually the blueprint what you just mentioned, what we can use here also in Germany for many cities, you know, and combining those different sectors or segments like charging infrastructure, reducing traffic, increasing the public transport, or making more attractive, and let's say giving more, let's say, a value to social life in the city, etc. These are things it's at least in the Western world, what I understand, these are, let's say, our challenges in the soon future. And this is a good thing to talk to you guys to understand that we are all in the kind of same boat, you know, sitting in the same boat, and
that's a huge thing, right, Bjorn? And now the technology is very easily transferable.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the computers all talk the same language, right? Bits and bytes. Yeah, that's very well put.
Yeah, but there's a difference, because when I see it through the, let's say, my company's eyes, you know, and let's say trying to sell things coming from the US and try to implement it into the German market, and I see that there are some things which are quite different, because privacy is a big issue here. We have this general data protection regulation, which is very strict, you know, and I think we have a lot of still a lot of skepticism in our society. Citizens want to be involved in decisions. When you let's say install cameras, people they say, oh, it's suspicious, you know, and so on. And there are a couple of things, and also the let's say the technical regulations are different, because when you try to bring in some stuff here in the German market, then you have to apply according to the German regulations, which might be different than in other parts of the world. You know, these are the, let's say, the main I think differences I see at the moment.
Yeah, but I see that as a challenge, right? So we would like to play at a global level, and you want to design and build for the highest standards, right? So the project that we did in San Francisco, yeah, we challenged ourselves. We don't want to ever have to store any images whatsoever to generate the benefits, right? And by finding the right partners in the detection, yeah, we for example, we use LiDAR. Yeah, and that gives you a good understanding of what's happening at an intersection or mid-block or what have you, but you never have to store a face, right? And that's yeah, I agree, you have to really think about it. But why don't we bring the European standards to the United States, right? Because at this point in time, that's in my personal.
Well, what I understood is that the California standards are quite I would say similar, but close to at least to our standards, you know, and we're on the right side.
Yes, I would agree with that part.
So panelists, let me just interrupt. This is an amazing and very fruitful discussion, but we do have one question. And I'm not sure which, well, I guess it's directed primarily at Kate, but so let me just read the question, see if you would like to answer it. It says, Germany is planning an underground hydrogen pipeline system to bring green fuel to vehicles of all sizes. Should West Hollywood plan on hydrogen fueling stations, instead of an expensive electric charging grid expansion? Is that something, have you even given any thought to hydrogen?
We have. We have tested a few hydrogen-powered vehicles with, there's a hydrogen fueling station not too far outside of our city border. You know, that's a great question, and hydrogen will certainly be part of our, it will be part of our portfolio of solutions to meet the governor's demands to have zero fuel gas-powered vehicles by 2035. The way that our market is looking, our vehicle market, is that many of the vehicles, most of the vehicles are electric powered vehicles. When we see a signal from the car manufacturers that hydrogen is gaining popularity, we will start to plan for that. But right now we have to follow the forecasts and plan for the electric infrastructure. I know that hydrogen is it would be easier for us to have hydrogen. We've explored it for our own fleet vehicles. But ultimately what we found is that the products on offer, at least at this time, from the vehicle manufacturers are electric vehicles.
Great, thank you so much, Kate. Actually, so I did want to congratulate you and your colleagues in West Hollywood. You know, as we heard from all of our panelists, and the whole concept of smart city is a very, very complex. It's an issue, you know, that deals with everything from energy to waste management to traffic, public safety, public health, and all of those. And sometimes, you know, and you have the additional challenge of having to coordinate with all kinds of different departments, right? And so, I mean, I can see big cities like Pittsburgh, who had, you know, such a huge problem with their pollution that they would, but to have the city of West Hollywood address these issues is extremely admirable. So yeah, yeah, very, very impressive.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being part of the panel today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, we have only a few minutes remaining, so if you can, I would like to wrap things up with about a minute, but I just a really quick question for you. And you know, we have all these gig economy players like Uber and Lyft, and now we have companies that are renting out electric vehicles. You know, what future do you think that gig economy players will have in urban mobility?
I think that we are at the verge of transitioning from kind of like pushing things on people to people picking what they want. And people are going to decide that, you know, they take a bike to a station and then hop on a train, then come to a city, hop on a bus, right? And then take a scooter or an Uber or whatever they want, right? And it is with that mindset that we have to solution to and create an, you know, we still need to build out the platform, right? But that's only right the beginning, right? The moment that, you know, somebody wants to, I don't know, put a new mode of transportation on top of it, right? A horse with a carriage, and somebody wants to do that, it should be able to easy integrate, right? And if people choose to run that as a gig, then go do it.
Yeah,
right? Absolutely, right? But is it the best for, you know, people, you know, the whole thing that's going on with Uber, and is it, you know, employment or not? Right? That's a more policy regulator question that I don't have an answer for, but our platform, our solution better provides for enabling that kind of stuff, however it comes to us.
Thank you, Paul. I did take note of your comment about joining your company. The reason that you joined your company was because you wanted to make the world that you live in, or the city that you live in, a better place. And I think that's the best motivation you can possibly have. So appreciate that. Appreciate your participation on the panel. Bjorn, I also wanted to acknowledge your contributions to the panel today. It's wonderful to hear about the organization that you've put together to accelerate smart city development. And then I wanted to close, hopefully not too much of a plug, but I'm sure that all of you are aware of the Smart City World Congress that's happening in a couple of months in Barcelona. Maybe some of you will be going there. And so I just wanted to mention that, and that Germany Trade and Invest, my organization, we will have quite a huge presence there, including meeting spaces that people are more than welcome to use. And we have experts from our energy team, and we certainly have smart city experts too in our office in Berlin. And so they will be there. Unfortunately, I will not, but hopefully some of you will be, and probably some portion of it will be available virtually. I'm not that familiar with that, but anyway, thank you so much. We're exactly on time. We were able to, I think, pack a lot of information into this short 45 minutes that we had. So thank you again, Kate. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bjorn. And hope that we'll be able to continue this discussion.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Also, a big thank you in the name of GACC West to all of our panelists, and especially to Angelica for directing the discussion in this wonderful round today. At this point, we're already coming to the end of our today's program. I hope everyone was able to take valuable insights away from today's event. And in case you haven't signed up for our second session yet, please remember we're having on Thursday, September 30th, at the same time, 9 a.m. PT, 6 p.m. European time, our event where we will highlight new solutions for urban mobility. I want to say a warm thank you to all of our speakers today, and wish the program participants that have been presenting their companies the best of luck for their future expansion plans to the North American market. It's been a great pleasure walking you through today's program, and I appreciate every one of you for tuning in and for educating yourself on how to improve the urban experience for citizens around the world. If anyone has any further questions to our delegation participants, speakers, or our services, please do not hesitate and contact us at any point. My phone number and email can be found on our website at gaccwest.com. Goodbye and stay safe.